In this video, I'm going to explain the proper pronunciation of the past simple and the past participle of regular verbs. I'm of course referring to their super famous, or I would rather say infamous, ed suffix. Are you familiar with that? Is that a problem for you? The first thing that you need to do is to understand very well the differences between voiced consonants and voiceless consonants. What is the difference between voiced and voiceless consonants? Let's keep it simple. A voiced consonant is produced when there is vibration of the vocal cords or the vocal folds, whereas a voiceless consonant is produced without that vibration. There are two very important questions that we need to answer here. The first one is, how can I know, or how can you know which consonants are voiced and which ones are voiceless? And the second question is, why is it so important to understand which consonants are voiced and which ones are not? To find the answer to these questions, we have to have a look at the International Phonetic Alphabet. Let's go. If you're new to the channel, this is the time when you can subscribe, and also don't forget to hit that notification bell so you can keep up to date with my latest videos. Here you can see the consonants in the International Phonetic Alphabet. They are organized in pairs according to their place of articulation, where in the mouth are they produced, and their manner of articulation, what happens to the air when coming from the lungs. But they are also organized that way in pairs because one of them is voiced and the other one is voiceless. So which one is which? The red consonants are voiced, whereas the black consonants are voiceless. There is one little trick that you can take with you everywhere, just in case you don't have the International Phonetic Alphabet with you. Basically, you just need to put your hand around your throat or just two of your fingers here and try to produce the sound. If you feel a vibration, you have a voiced consonant. If you don't, you have a voiceless consonant. Pretty simple. Let's try. For example, P, P. Can you feel the vibration? No, that is the voiceless consonant. Next, we need to find out why this idea is so important in the pronunciation of the ed suffix. Let's find out. So why is it so important, this voice or voiceless concept when pronouncing the ed suffix? Well, let me illustrate this, or let me illustrate that with some examples. I'm going to give you four very typical verbs: worked, live, need, and want. I want you to pay attention to the last sound of each one of those verbs when pronounced in the infinitive form. For example, want. The last sound that you can hear is the T. Need. The last sound is D. Love. The last sound is V. V. And work. The last sound is K. So why is this important? Because you need to identify whether T, K, V, or D, in the last sound of the verb in infinitive, is that sound voiced or voiceless? That's what you need to pay attention to. And the reason is very simple. There are three different pronunciations for the suffix ed. One of them is T, the other one is D, and the last one is ed. When do you pronounce T? When do you pronounce D? And when do you pronounce ed? Well, let's find out. When the last sound of the verb is either T or D, for example, want or need, the pronunciation of the suffix ed is going to be ed. I mean, want, wanted, need, needed. The same will happen with any verb which when pronounced in the infinitive form, the last sound that you can hear is T or D. So T and D equals eat. Excellent! Now you know that if the last sound that you can hear when pronouncing the verb in infinitive is T or D, the pronunciation of the suffix ed is going to be eat. But what do you do if the last sound that you can hear is not T or D? Well, you need to pay attention to the voice quality of the last sound. What do I mean? Simple. If the last sound that you can hear is voiced, you pronounce the suffix ed as a D. But if the last sound that you can hear of the verb in infinitive is voiceless, you pronounce the ed suffix as T. Let's see some examples. In this chart, we can see some regular verbs where the ed suffix is pronounced with T or D. Obviously, it all depends on the last sound that you can hear when pronouncing the verb in the infinitive form. Let's see some examples. In the verb wash, the last sound that we can hear is the combination of the letters SH. These two letters are pronounced as sh. This sound is voiceless. Therefore, the suffix ed is pronounced as T. I mean, washed, washed, not wash it. We say washed instead of wash it. The same thing happened with watch. The letters CH are pronounced as ch. This sounds ch is voiceless. So when we add the suffix ed, we should pronounce this as T. I mean, watched, watched, not watch it. Not watch it, but watched. What happened with the verb laugh? You have the combinations of G and H. These two letters produce the sound F, which is a voiceless sound. So when we add the suffix ed, this should be pronounced as laughed, not laughed. Laughed, not laughed. The suffix ed is pronounced as a D in all the verbs that we have in this list. The last sound that we can hear in these verbs is always a voice sound. We should pay special attention to the sound W, because this one is a semi-vowel. All the vowels are voiced, so W is pronounced as U, show, show. So when you add the suffix ed, it should sound as D, showed, showed. The same thing happened with enjoy. The Y is pronounced as E. E is a vowel, therefore it's voice. Therefore, the ed suffix should be pronounced as D, enjoyed.